Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Social Z Franchise Podcast. I'm your host, Calvin Smith, and today, as usual, we'll be talking about all things franchises, franchisees, and everything in between. We have another awesome entrepreneur and franchisee, Ashley Kloxin, joining us from Omaha, Nebraska this evening, and she's going to be talking with us about her business, how she got into franchising, but also talking about how she manages her personal life, her health and fitness, and everything related to that as a franchise owner. So Ashley, welcome.
Thank you, Calvin. I appreciate it.
Well, to kick us off, what we usually ask our guests to do is just give us a quick fire intro of your name, brand, location, years in business, revenue, or anything like that you want to share with us, and we'll get started.
Awesome. Yeah, sounds great. I am Ashley Kloxin. I'm located in Omaha, Nebraska, so right in the middle, heart of the Midwest. And I am co-owner with my business partner of Perspire Sauna Studio. So we are an infrared sauna studio franchised out of California. And we are the 9th location with 19 locations currently open around the nation. And
just to kick us off and keep us rolling here, tell us what you did before you started your franchise and why you bought a franchise specifically.
Yeah, I think it was kind of accidental. We were both interested, my husband and I, at some point in getting into a business. We're both entrepreneurs. So we had both worked for a regional grocery retailer in the area and upper management at the stores. And there came a point where we weren't sure if that's what we wanted to do anymore. We were working lots and lots of hours in something that we weren't necessarily passionate about anymore. And through some health challenges that I had in working that stressful job for years and years on end, and not eating well and not really putting myself first, we kind of realized that there were other ways to be healthy. So we happened to run across infrared sauna in our travels, as we were both still working for this company, and we absolutely fell in love with it. And after that, I literally said, hey, wouldn't that be really cool if we could bring this back to Omaha, Nebraska? And we just started researching, and we thought, well, maybe we can do this on our own. Realized that it would be so much better to franchise because you have all of that back end support. So literally through Google searches, we ran across the Perspire brand. At the time, you could have asked me what the difference between an emerging franchise and, a franchise with 200 location was, and I wouldn't have been able to tell you what the difference was. And so this is an emerging franchise. We met with them out in California within the month. I thought that they were awesome, thought that they had a great business model. They're really, really passionate about wellness, about infrared sauna. So we ended up within 3 months signing on with Perspire Sauna Studio and opened in July of 2020, which was not an ideal time to open, when you're going into construction in March or April and everybody else kind of shuts down. We were getting ready to open. But it's been fantastic, and the support from the community and from the franchise throughout this past year and a half has been just incredible.
Awesome. Well, that's an interesting path to get to where you are. And Ashley, do I understand that your husband, Nate, works with you in the business as well still, or is he doing something else now?
Yeah, that's correct. So we are both currently in the business at Perspire.
Okay, perfect. And, on this podcast, we've talked to a number of different, dynamics, but, very few husband and wife teams. Talk us through a little bit about how you guys structure your work relationship and, who handles what and how has that impacted you guys from, outside the business?
Yeah, definitely. I think it was definitely a change. So we both have very different management styles, and with us both coming from that strong managerial background, I think it's definitely been challenging. I could talk work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It doesn't matter to me. Like, I absolutely love it. I'm all in. And while he could do that as well, sometimes he says, hey, let's take a break. And so, I think it's a little bit easier for him to separate both of them. Whereas I like to think about everything all the time. So as far as that goes, yeah, sometimes we have had to set parameters. Hey, kind of once the studio shuts down at night, so at about 9:30, 10 o'clock, let's kind of switch gears for the rest of the evening and still try to get a good sleep. And then when we get up the next morning, we can go back at it. And then, just trying to take one day every week for ourselves and not have to worry about the studio, know that our staff has it and that everything's covered for us. And then as far as how we split it up, sometimes we both share the day-to-day things. So if something happens, a team member has a question, runs into a challenge, both of us are available, or like this morning, I wasn't available and he was. So they reached out to me first. I didn't answer. So they called him and he picked up. Other things, like some of the financials, he kind of keeps track more of that stuff at this time. I tend to do some more of like the social media, writing policies and procedures, training manuals, that kind of stuff. And then we're both very, very hands-on with the operations and the training of our team on the day-to-day basis. So some of that stuff is shared as well. And I think we're still kind of in that discovery process. So, right, we're under the understanding that anything else, another opportunity could come up at any time. So, whether that be in franchising or something else, that then one of us might at some point need to take over more of the business. So we both also know each other's roles and functions very well so that we can just pick up on those and leave off maybe where the other person left off.
Awesome. That's great. Well, it sounds like you've had some early success with it over the last 18 months now that you've been doing it. Tell us a little bit about how much your team has grown and how that's changed, the dynamic between you and Nate working together since you started. Obviously starting in July of last year, it was probably a hard time to not only start a business, but to hire people, I would imagine. And so what's been your journey over the last 18 months, from a staffing standpoint?
So when we dove in, honestly, we had a very, very easy time bringing people into the business. When we opened, we knew everybody that we hired. So either we'd worked with them or we had somehow networked with them and they were interested in doing something with us in some capacity because they were very excited about what we did for the community. Since then, some people have moved on. They've gone back to school or they've moved away, or some people have gotten, a different full-time job, which takes more of their time. So we have certainly lost team members. And we do still have, a couple of team members that are still with us, and some more long-term team members. Currently, I'd say it is much more challenging to hire than when we opened, and I think that's probably for everybody. And, I'm sure you as well in your ventures. And just something that I think that's worked really well for us, that we've had actually a lot of our members at our studio who have been interested in working with us. So I think that's been a very good source of people who are able to come in and we already know them. So that's really cool. Also people who I might network with, maybe one of their kids was looking for something part-time, or somebody that they know, or even themselves are looking for something part-time. So we've been able to bring them on to work with us. Which has also been really cool because you already know those people, you know how they're going to work. I won't say that there haven't been those staffing challenges. You bring somebody on and maybe it's just not quite the right fit for them. So we also make sure that we're very open and honest with, what the job entails before they come on, to also make sure that, hey, is this going to be the right fit for you?
Ashley, you mentioned when you were talking about your path to purchasing Perspire, that you kind of started looking at the infrared, sauna market. I'm completely ignorant to that space. So tell me a little bit about infrared, sauna studios and what caught, your and Nate's attention on and why you chose that direction.
Yeah, definitely. So, as we're kind of discussing, we both have always been pretty interested in health and wellness, and just having some health challenges in past, just realizing that there were things that we should do for our bodies on a daily basis that can be very helpful, even if it's just eating something right, or, exercising, taking a walk every day, meditating, whatever that is for somebody, yoga, making sure that you're taking that time for you. And so when we ran across infrared sauna, I think my big question after the very first time I did it is, how is this possible? I feel incredible after this sauna session. Why? Is this too good to be true? So we started researching and found out that infrared sauna is a much newer technology than those traditional saunas that you would find in Finland and Europe, various places, honestly, all over the world that are thousands and thousands of years old. So infrared, it uses that infrared spectrum and it heats your soft body tissue directly, whereas that traditional sauna is going to heat the air around you. So they both have very, very good benefits, but that infrared sauna is going to get a very good detoxification, a very good sweat, and it's going to help with a whole host of health issues, wellness benefits, all the good stuff, or if you just need to de-stress, but it's going to do that in a way that's much more tolerable temperature, and you can stay in the sauna for a longer period of time. So it took us some discovery, and as well as that, I mean, there's a couple of other franchises out there that have this concept, that do this concept, but when we stepped into it, Perspire had been around for almost 10 years at the time, just honing in their best practices, finding the best saunas to use for the studios, and so when we dove in, we knew that they already had the best product on the market, and we wanted to be a part of that.
So it sounds like you found a personal passion with the infrared studios and that market, just because you were personally using it, you saw the benefits, and then you said, hey, this is something that can work well in Omaha. Let's figure out how to do it, and why not do franchising, because someone's already probably figured out how to do it right. Is that kind of the path that got you there? That's interesting. What did you look at any other brands besides Perspire, or was that kind of you found them and made your decision and just ran with it?
Yeah, honestly, the first place that we tried it was at a different brand. We took a look at their franchising model briefly, and it just didn't seem like the best fit. I don't know if you kind of get a feeling sometimes when you start looking at something and you can kind of tell maybe there's something else out there. And honestly, after we found Perspire, that was pretty much it, just because of the feeling we got off of initial fast communication back from them, and researching, going through the FDB, all of that thing, everything was just kind of in the perfect order.
Sure. No, I understand. So I now own and operate 3 franchise brands, and I've been through 9 what's called D-days, like discovery days. I don't know if you went through that with me. I've been through 9 discovery days where I did not end up buying the brand. So I certainly understand the feeling and you kind of know if it's a fit or not, even though the idea could be, the business could be great, but it just may not be a fit for you. What was it about Perspire that, when you got, whether it was to California at the Discovery Day or whenever, like what clicked for you and said, hey, this is what we're going to do?
Yeah. I think, a couple of things. I think just, first of all, it was the people. So, initially after we found out about infrared sauna and we found out about Perspire, we just happened to be taking a trip out to California a few weeks later. So we had already been in contact with them, and we just stopped out to one of the studios, met their director of operations, and had a session, and it was a great experience. And so from there, we went out about 3 weeks to a month later again to meet with the entire team. And we just felt like they all really jived well together. And again, they all had that passion for the brand and what they did. It didn't just seem like a job to all of them. So even though some of them are just, they're working for the company, it's also like seem like they're all owners of the company because they are so passionate. They do, truly believe in what they're doing. And then from there, I think it was just, after researching various infrared saunas and different types of models and different kind of businesses that have infrared saunas with them, this seems like the most put together as far as, bringing customers, guests in the door, making sure that they had the best experience while they were there. And we felt like that was very put together. We come from a very highly focused customer service background. And so we wanted to make sure that they had the best product, the best service, and everything is just a perfect experience so that they can come in and relax while they're there and not have to worry about anything. And we just felt like the brand really embodied that from the first time that we met them.
Ashley, you mentioned a couple of times, one of the reasons you started using infrared sauna was maybe, some health issues or things you were experiencing in your previous career and kind of took you that direction. If you don't mind, share a little bit about that and, kind of what that was. And also, this is probably a good time to hear your story on, how owning a franchise and owning a business has impacted you personally on your own, health, wellness, fitness, things like that. For a lot of us, we get so busy and we're so wrapped up into the day-to-day. We don't exercise, we eat horribly, we drink too much caffeine, and then we drink too much alcohol to go to sleep. It's a bad health life cycle for a lot of us when we're starting out. So talk a little bit about your journey there.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, Calvin, could you clarify, you're just kind of looking for that health journey?
Yeah. So what was it that was, that took you to the infrared sauna, that was you're experiencing in your past career? And then how has that changed now that you're a business owner and you're probably working crazy hours?
Yeah, definitely. So, at the time I had just become very stressed, and the environment that I was working in at the time was not necessarily one of cohesion. Let's work as a team. It was very, very long hours. And especially when my husband and I were both in that industry with long hours constantly, it put a lot of stress onto us. And I think it just kind of creeped up slowly. So just numerous chronic issues, from stomach issues to inflammation all over the place. I had a back surgery and that just wasn't healing. So I was super active in my job, and I've always been a super active person, but I wasn't able to be. And I just kind of sunk into this place of I'm not this person who I used to be. I was always this very excited, cheerful, like everything's great. I'd walk into my, where I worked, and when I first started there, I remember people said, "Oh, okay, well, eventually you'll realize that you don't want to be working here." And I'd look at them and say, "What do you mean? This is amazing. Everything's awesome here." And eventually it happened. I kind of lost that spark and that drive. And I just kind of went to this place that I felt terrible all the time. I was constantly worried about, hey, I don't feel great when I'm at work every day. I have all these chronic things and they just keep coming up. And, realizing too that sometimes you can't just take a medication or a pill for that, which is, some of what I was trying to do, whether it was over the counter or going to the doctor and saying, hey, I have this problem, and continually they can't find out what's wrong. And then you kind of feel like you're crazy because you say, no, there's a problem. Like I feel terrible all the time. And so just going through that day to day and then not feeling like I could do the absolute best at my job because I didn't feel good and I was no longer happy with what I was doing.
Sure. And so that took you to looking for some, health alternatives. You found infrared sauna. You ended up buying the business, and how has that changed, in that time?
Yeah, definitely. So, right before we had found Perspire, I had started, completely overhauling what I was eating all the time, making sure that I was, not eating those processed foods and doing things that were good for me, starting to get active again. And that had started me on this healing journey, healing my body. And, then we found infrared sauna, and it was kind of an accident when we ran across it. And honestly, I think before I went on this journey, I would have just, driven by it and said, oh, okay, whatever. A sauna studio. Okay, cool. Okay, I'm not sure what that's going to do for you. And when we ran across this, we happened to be with some friends of my husband's who we were visiting. And they said, just kind of nonchalantly, they said, oh yeah, it's an infrared sauna studio. And I said, what? You're very passive about that. This is really cool. So we happened to be at a grocery store next to this infrared sauna studio one day, and I said, I'm going to go in there. I am very intrigued by what this is. And I walked in and they started telling me about it. And the next day we tried it, and just with how amazing I felt afterwards, I said, this is that last piece of the puzzle for me. I mean, literally right then I said, we could do this. We could have one of these. And if people don't do anything else for their health, if they don't want to change how they eat, if they don't want to exercise, they can come use sauna, and it can help them in so many other facets of their life.
That's awesome. And so it sounds like it's personally benefited you as well, right? And so you're eating healthier. You're probably maybe not less stress, but it's a different kind of stress, and you're able to. How much are you using your own studio now? I mean, is it something where you're in there all the time, or what's your process there?
Yeah, definitely. I tend to use the studio anywhere from about 4 to 6 times a week. So I'll get a sauna session in as often as I can, just because I feel like it helps me so much.
Sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely. So, that's been a benefit for you, right? So you found something you were passionate about, something that helped you. You were able to purchase the business, with your husband. You guys have had a lot of success. What are some of the things that have not gone well, Ashley? Obviously, it's not all sunshine and palm trees in the franchise world. And so what are the things that you guys are struggling with on the business side, or what are some things on the personal side that you've learned that you've had to sacrifice or kind of not enjoy as much since you purchased your own business?
Yeah, certainly. So yeah, I think as far as the personal side goes, it's one thing when, I think again, we both come from careers where we were always already on all the time, ready for a phone call, but it was a little different in the aspect is that also then there was somebody else to call. Now, if something comes up, it's us. We have to be in there. We have to fix it, so it does make it hard to do things like travel and be away from the studio, since we are so involved and we're not kind of more on the sidelines. I think some other challenges are opening in the middle of 2020 is not something that I would recommend, but it's been really good because I think people are more aware of than ever about health, wellness, how they're feeling, optimizing their bodies. Another challenge that we do run into is, something in the Midwest that people aren't as aware of are some of these, I guess, quote unquote, newer things. So explaining to people what infrared sauna is, we have a lot of people that stop by or walk in or we talk to on the phone and they've never heard of this before. They've tried that gym sauna, but they don't realize, hey, this is a private experience. You just sit there and watch Netflix or Hulu. So explaining to them that entire relaxation, it's literally, 40 minutes for yourself. There's a little bit of a hurdle there. And, I've talked to some of the franchisees out of California and I said, hey, do you have a huge education piece? Do people know what infrared sauna is there? And they say, yep, everybody knows what it is here. And I said, that's great. I'm very glad. So we've had to figure out how to teach people what it is, and then, expect that they still might not come in for a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. And, all of a sudden they might pass by and say, oh yeah, I remember I learned about that and I want to try it. And then, having people realize, hey, you should continue doing this for your health so that you can feel better. Don't just come in for a special occasion or, I think so many times too, people, it's probably the same thing with working out, right? You think, oh, I went to the gym one day this week. Why haven't I seen results yet? And I've been there too. I completely understand. And so educating too on, hey, you should come in several times a week so that you can get the most benefits and feel your absolute best so that you can be the best for your kids, for your job, for, the things that you want to do in life. So I think, just that overall education piece.
Well, thanks for sharing that, Ashley. It's interesting insight. And it sounds like you're in a perfect position to kind of educate your audience because you went through that same journey on your own. So that's good. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing over the next 90 days. What's the goal for Ashley and Perspire and Omaha? And, what are you guys looking to accomplish going into this fourth quarter to set you up for success going into 2022?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, we are excited looking forward. Of course, there's a lot of benefit, especially being in the Midwest, going into those colder months, people aren't able to be outside doing as many things. And this is really when people's bodies don't start to feel quite as well, for those from cold climates. And so it's really just a fantastic time for us to grow, for us to spend more time to educate, to go out different places, whether it be to a business or a function, and just really be able to have those one-to-ones or small group chats with people on how this can help them. So we're really just working on, educating more, growing more, bringing more people in the door so that they can try it and realize the benefits for themselves. And then as we go into 2022, just continuing to grow our own studio and then start to look towards, okay, what do we want to do in the future? Would we like to continue to grow this into, other markets or, other facets within our area?
Awesome. Well, Ashley, thanks so much for sharing your story and your journey. It's neat to see someone who's found their personal benefit and personal passion and was able to turn that into a business using the franchise model. So, and Ashley, if I'm in Omaha or if I'm a resident of your area, how do I find you guys? What's the best way to get a hold of you? And where would I sign up?
So we are on the main social media sites. So we're on Facebook, Perspire Sauna Studio Omaha, Instagram, Perspire Omaha. And then we are located on 147th and West Maple Road. So kind of in Northwest Omaha area here. You can always get in touch with us via phone or text. We have both availabilities. Find us, of course, through Google search. And you can always find us out in the community, chatting with other wellness businesses, fitness businesses, and like-minded people in the area.
Awesome. Well, Ashley, thanks again. We appreciate you taking the time to visit with us. And I'm certainly going to go find a infrared sauna studio now because you've sold me on it. So I'm going to give it a shot. So thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it. And we look forward to talking to you soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Calvin.